She was just a virgin intern, until a millionaire CEO took her on his desk and crossed the line. Paris in winter felt like a classical symphony played on frozen piano keys. That morning, from the top floor of a glass tower in the 8th arrondissement, Liam Callahan stood before the wide window, watching the city through a veil of mist that looked almost like smoke. He was the creative director of Maison Callahan, a legendary French fashion house where everything was beautiful, perfect, and never quite warm. Liam was famous not only for his visionary talent in fashion, but also for his almost absolute coldness. No one ever truly got close to him. Employees respected him, clients admired him, but everyone kept an invisible distance. He was always polite, always precise, and never revealed even the smallest crack in his emotional armor. They called him the Ice King of Paris. No one knew exactly why his heart had turned so cold. Some guessed it was due to an unhappy childhood. Others believed that early fame taught him not to trust. But all were just assumptions, because Liam had never allowed anyone through the true door of who he was. His penthouse, flooded with light and decorated to perfection, carried a quiet loneliness. There were no signs of a shared life, no framed photos, no second glass, no echo of laughter. Only sketches, color swatches, and upcoming collections rested in silence on the glass table. At 9:12 a.m., the phone on his desk buzzed softly. His assistant Helen had sent a short message. 13:30 a.m., meeting with external auditor Maya Rivera, requested by legal. He skimmed through her file. Independent consultant, impressive record in legal auditing and international financial risk management. Female, 30 years old, Latin American background. A second of silence passed like a breeze. Liam turned off the screen. He didn't like interruptions in his schedule. But this time, he didn't know that what seemed like just another meeting would mark the beginning of the journey that would melt his frozen heart. 29 a.m. Maya Rivera walked down the corridor to the 33rd floor meeting room with a calm, composed stride. Her cream-white suit hugged her slender yet confident frame, and her heels echoed with a steady rhythm, like a beat rehearsed to perfection. She knew this wouldn't be an easy meeting. Liam Callahan, his name carried not just talent, but a reputation for being distant, cold, almost untouchable. She'd worked with hundreds of executives, but none had made her study their psychological profile before a first meeting. Helen opened the door. Liam stood with his back turned, gazing out the window where Paris remained cloaked in winter mist. When he turned, their eyes met. No smile, no handshake, just the cold gaze of a man used to control, and the steady gaze of a woman who didn't yield to power. "Please have a seat," Liam said, his voice low and even, without emotion. Maya sat down and opened her file. "I'll get straight to the point. Based on last quarter's data, there are 3 transactions between Maison Callahan and the Italian partner that don't match the official reports." Liam crossed his arms. "And your conclusion?" "I haven't drawn one. I'm here to ask the questions legal wants answered. The answers lie with you." A pause. 3 seconds of silence. Liam's eyes narrowed slightly. "Then ask." Maya didn't hesitate. She listed each transaction, the dates, the account codes, the discrepancies between internal reports and partner data. She spoke clearly, firmly, not arrogant, but unafraid. Liam listened. He didn't interrupt, but he wasn't disengaged either. His attention flickered in subtle gestures. A nod, a slight glance, the stillness of someone absorbing every word. For 30 minutes, they were like duelists, no swords, no shields, just intellect, poise, and quiet force. But within that half hour, something began to shift. Maya, bathed in soft light from the window, was not just an auditor. She radiated something, unyielding, yet calm. Her confidence wasn't pride. It was like a steady flame that burned despite the northern wind. Liam felt something unfamiliar stir in his mind. He found himself listening more than responding, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel like the one holding all the power in the room. When the meeting ended, Maya stood. "I'll send the full report by email before end of day. I'm available if further clarification is needed." "Helen will arrange another meeting if necessary," Liam replied, still unsmiling. But his eyes had softened. Just slightly, just enough for someone perceptive to notice. Maya held his gaze a moment longer than protocol required. "Wishing you a day full of wise decisions," she said, then turned and walked out. The door closed behind her. Liam remained still. In the quiet room, he noticed something strange. She hadn't left a fragrance, but a presence, a feeling. And what unsettled him most was the truth he couldn't deny. He wanted to see her again. After their first meeting, Maya assumed she wouldn't see Liam again until the investigation wrapped. She was wrong. Less than 24 hours later, Helen sent a follow-up. A direct request from Liam himself, asking to work with Maya throughout the audit of the partnership with Italia Ferrano. The official reason, to ensure oversight and efficiency. But Maya knew better. It was Liam's way of keeping control. Still, their sessions together began to turn into something different. They met daily in a quiet office behind the design studio, rarely visited, comfortably secluded. Maya came in with a notebook filled with notes. Liam brought original contracts and internal financial analysis. No one joked. No one smiled unnecessarily, and yet the synergy between them was undeniable. Liam started asking deeper questions, not to challenge her, but to genuinely understand. Maya responded without hesitation, sharp, concise, and never defensive. They discussed, debated, and analyzed, always professional, but never cold. There was something in the pauses between their exchanges, not awkwardness, but a kind of quiet curiosity. One afternoon, while reviewing a transaction ledger from Ferrano, Maya paused. "This transfer code is off. Do you see it? One line is backdated, but has a matching reference number." Liam leaned in closer to look. For a brief moment, the space between them was barely a foot. Maya's breath brushed his sleeve, so faint, yet Liam noticed it, and that surprised him. He glanced at her. Maya remained focused on the figures, unaware of the moment that had just made his heart stumble. "Sharp eye," Liam murmured. "Not everyone would have caught that." Maya looked up, a bit surprised by the compliment. "I'm used to catching tiny mistakes. Millions can be lost from a single number out of place." Liam nodded. "Or from someone who doesn't pay attention." For the first time, they shared a smile, small, brief, but unforced. That evening, as Maya left the office, Liam remained by the window staring out. He realized something. She didn't just intrigue him professionally, she made him want to understand her. And that was something he'd never wanted with anyone before. And so, through the passing days of quiet collaboration, as the space between them narrowed and their silences no longer felt cold, the inevitable began to stir. Not through words, but through glances, through presence. Something was shifting, slowly but undeniably. It was a quiet weekend night in Paris, with a gentle rain tapping softly against the city. The offices of Maison Callahan had long emptied, save for one warm pool of light spilling from the back studio, the only room still aglow. Liam and Maya sat across from each other, surrounded by towering reports, thick financial files, and a spreadsheet glowing between their two screens. They had been working for over 6 hours. Neither had moved. Maya had shed her jacket and rolled up the sleeves of her shirt. Her long hair had loosened slightly from hours of focus, but her eyes remained clear, sharp. Liam glanced at her. There was something about her quiet endurance that made it impossible for him to look away. "Do you ever wonder why it's us?" Maya asked softly, breaking the silence. Liam looked up, a little surprised. "What do you mean?" "I mean, why is it us, sitting here, late at night, in an empty building, staring at the mess powerful people leave behind, when we could be home, living easier lives?" He paused, then said, "Because we don't know how to look away from the truth." Maya smiled faintly but didn't reply. There was something in her eyes, a mix of exhaustion and understanding, that made Liam feel suddenly close. Close enough to hear her breathing between the soft patter of rain against the glass. Outside, the rain continued its quiet rhythm, like an endless, wordless melody. Inside the softly lit room, the tension that had lingered like a tight wire began to soften. No more words were exchanged, no more keystrokes, no more data. Liam looked up at Maya. She was rereading the final line of her notes, lips pressed gently in focus. He couldn't look away. Something in the way she leaned forward, the unpretending focus in her eyes, made his breathing suddenly heavier. Maya sensed it. Slowly, she lifted her gaze. Their eyes met, and neither flinched, neither masked. The stare lasted longer than it should have, but neither broke it. Between them, silence stretched like silk, fragile, electric. And somehow it wasn't awkward. It pressed against the skin like a touch. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. And strangely, it wasn't cold. It was quietly, tenderly warm. Liam stood, took one step toward her. Maya didn't move, half a meter between them. Liam's heartbeat pounded. He didn't know if this was the right decision, but he knew it was real, deeply, undeniably real. He leaned down, slowly. His lips touched hers, a short kiss, light, as if afraid to shatter something sacred. And yet it was that very gentleness that made them both tremble. Maya leaned back slightly, her eyes still fixed on his, yet something inside her wavered. She didn't speak, but in that silence lived a battle, a war between logic and longing. She knew this wasn't the right time. They were colleagues entangled in a sensitive investigation, where emotions could be easily misread. But her heart couldn't deny it, not the kiss, but the feeling of safety, of truth, and a strange, undeniable rightness. When they parted, their breaths were slightly rushed. Neither spoke. There was no need, because some moments, only silence can carry the voice of the heart. That night wasn't the beginning, but it was no longer the end of a strictly professional connection. They left the room with two quiet hearts, now carrying questions unspoken, but deeply, undeniably real. They didn't speak of what had shifted between them, but both knew something now lived in the silence they once used for distance. And just as something delicate began to bloom, pressure, silent and shadowed, crept in. Even the most genuine feelings can't escape challenge when reality begins to press in. And neither of them could have known that just days later, amid spreadsheets and silent documents, a quiet storm was already starting to brew. 3 days after that rainy night, the atmosphere inside Maison Callahan began to shift. Everything appeared normal, on the surface. Maya still arrived on time. Liam still wore his perfectly tailored suits. Internal meetings went on as scheduled, but something darker was stirring behind the scenes. On Wednesday morning, Liam received an anonymous email. No subject, no signature, just one cold, sharp sentence. Stop investigating Ferrano, or I'll go public with your personal relationship with the auditor. He read it 3 times. His chest tightened, not from fear, but fury. Someone was trying to manipulate him, and worse, they were dragging Maya into it. That afternoon, Maya discovered her laptop had been breached. Several sensitive files, including unreleased reports, had been accessed. Helen notified IT, and within hours, finance blogs began to buzz. Is Callahan's new auditor getting too close to the famously aloof creative director? Maya sat frozen at her desk. Her heart pounded, not from shame, but from knowing this would impact Liam, a man who had always drawn clear lines between personal and professional. That evening, with just the two of them in the meeting room, Maya spoke softly. If you need me to step away from the case... No, Liam cut in, firm and calm. They don't get to weaponize something honest. But they'll say you're biased. The company may question your judgment. Let them, Liam replied. I'd rather be questioned than watch you drag through mud for something we didn't do wrong. He stepped closer, gaze unwavering. I'll protect you, Maya, wherever this goes. It wasn't a romantic promise. It was a vow, solid, unshakable, and real. The next day, Liam personally called for an emergency board meeting. He revealed the data breach, ordered an internal audit, and made a firm statement. Any personal threats made during this investigation will be prosecuted to the full extent of company policy and the law. Maya sat in the back of the room, stunned. Liam wasn't just acting as a CEO. He was standing as a man unafraid to fight for the woman he believed in. The rumors kept spreading. Pressure built. Some shareholders demanded Maya's removal, but Liam didn't budge. Every step he took, every word he said, was his way of saying, I don't fear losing my reputation. I fear losing the truth. Pressure pressed in from all sides, media, shareholders, suspicious hallway glances, and even anonymous messages that Maya received late into the night. At times, she felt like someone standing at the edge of a cliff. One misstep, and she'd plummet. But Liam remained. No grand gestures, no dramatic speeches, just presence, solid as a mountain in the storm. Every glance he gave her, every few words he offered, steady and clear, became her shield. Maya had never believed someone could truly be a source of strength for another until she met him. And while everything around them wavered, amid suspicion and threats, the one thing that didn't shake was the feeling growing quietly between them, held not with declarations, but with silence, trust, and the kind of courage that doesn't need to shout. And amid that storm, Maya understood. Love doesn't always come wrapped in roses or whispered promises. Sometimes it's just someone willing to stand by you when the whole world doubts you. The emergency meeting was held Monday morning in Maison Callahan's largest executive boardroom. The room was elegant, but the tension in the air made it feel cold and sharp. The board members sat stiffly, their expressions unreadable, eyes flickering toward Maya with suspicion. The rumors about her and Liam had spread farther than anyone expected. A few shareholders had even filed formal requests to terminate her involvement, citing compromised objectivity. Maya sat across from them, unflinching. No matter how piercing the stares, she kept her back straight, her composure unwavering, her strength as firm as ever. The emergency meeting began more like a cross-examination than a discussion. One major shareholder stood, eyes cold as ice, aimed at Maya. Given the current situation, I propose suspending Ms. Rivera's role in the investigation. We can't allow personal emotions to interfere with a deal of this scale. Another voice followed, sharper. Even if she's innocent, the presence of suspicion alone damages the company's reputation. We can't afford the risk. Each sentence cut like a blade. Maya sat quietly, absorbing every word. When the room finally fell silent, she calmly stood and opened her file. I understand your concerns, but truth isn't built on emotion. It lies in data. Here is a detailed cross-reference between Callahan and Ferrano's accounts, along with documented irregularities in transfers from the partner. She paused, locking eyes with the board member who had demanded her removal. I don't ask you to trust my character, but I do ask you to trust the numbers, because they cannot be manipulated. Silence followed, not because Maya shouted, but because her calm was irrefutable. The last one to speak was Chantal, the company's head of legal affairs. Ms. Rivera, can you explain why sensitive audit data was leaked, coinciding with media coverage of your rumored relationship with Mr. Callahan? Maya nodded. I had my devices reviewed. There was unauthorized access from an internal IP address. I forwarded the findings to cybersecurity. I did not share or expose any data. But your personal involvement with the creative director, is it true? Another board member asked bluntly. The room fell silent. Before Maya could respond, Liam stood. His voice was steady, clear, each word weighted with intention. It is true, I pursued the relationship. Maya has maintained the highest level of professionalism. If responsibility is required, place it on me. Maya turned to him, stunned. Not because he admitted it, but because he did so openly, at the center of power, willing to risk his name to protect her. The board froze, a moment of total stillness. Then Maya opened her file, revealing updated evidence of financial fraud within Ferrano, complete, accurate, and undeniable. Her presentation was crisp, logical, and compelling enough to silence even the most skeptical voices. Chantal scanned the room, then nodded slowly. The data is clear. Ms. Rivera fulfilled her duty. Her personal life does not diminish the truth. The meeting ended with an official resolution. Maya would remain on the investigation, with full authority. As everyone filed out, Maya stood quietly. Liam approached and took her hand. They didn't speak. They simply walked out together, fingers interlaced, like two warriors who had made it through the storm. Not without fear, but brave enough to face it side by side. Their relationship no longer needed to be hidden or defended. After that pivotal meeting, Liam slowly began stepping into Maya's world. a quiet, layered place filled with memories he had never touched before. 2 weeks after the decisive boardroom meeting, Maya took Liam away from Paris, to a place he never imagined he'd go. Cape Verde, her maternal homeland. A small island off the coast of West Africa, sun-drenched, wind-kissed, painted in soft shades of green across dusty red roads. No luxury cars, no sterile offices, just the sea, laughter, and the scent of corn cakes drifting from wood-fired stoves each evening. Liam stepped into a weathered tile-roofed house where Donna Selena, Maya's grandmother, sat weaving scarves beneath the porch. Nearly 80, her vision faded, but her smile could still quiet the world. "You're Liam?" she asked in Portuguese. Maya translated, "Come closer, I want to feel your hands." He knelt beside her. Her wrinkled fingers brushed his, simple, but something in him went still. During their stay, Liam lived in a new world, slower, real, and unapologetically honest. Maya laughed more, slept better. She showed him the hills where she once played, the shoreline where she first tasted loss and hope. That evening, under a golden sunset, they sat on the sand. Salt air, soft wind, no words, none needed. Liam turned toward her. She was smiling, sunlight tracing gold around her cheeks. He stood, his heart pounded, just like it had the night they met. "Maya," she looked up. He knelt. No ring, no flowers, no velvet box. Just two trembling hands and a whispered truth. "I don't have anything but the love I carry for you. And I think that's enough. Will you marry me?" Maya didn't speak. She cried quietly, as though every past wound was soothed by a single silent nod. She flung her arms around him, whispering, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." In that moment, she wasn't just accepting a proposal. She was letting go. Of all the times she'd had to be strong, all the walls she had built to survive, all the questions about whether love could truly be gentle. Liam didn't just ask her to marry him, he asked her to rest. And for the first time in her life, she did. That night, beneath oil lamplight, Donna Selena placed a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder and said softly, words that left both young hearts still, "You are the miracle he needed, and he is the flame that warms your heart." Outside, the sea wind rustled the palms, and inside, two souls had found home. Not a place to stay, but a place to belong. And so the love story of the man once known as the armored, distant one found its gentle, sunlit ending. A wedding by the sea, where the sky met the waves, where he no longer hid his heart, and she smiled as if, at last, she had returned to where she was always meant to be. Their wedding wasn't extravagant. No celebrities, no gowns worth thousands of euros, no gold-covered arches. And yet, it was a ceremony no heart present that day would ever forget. The Cape Verde sky was a brilliant blue, as if freshly rinsed after a rare rain. The wedding took place outdoors, by the shore where gentle waves whispered against the white sand. The setting was Mediterranean in spirit, white linen swaying in the breeze, wildflowers in clay vases, indigo-painted wooden chairs. Maya wore a simple body-hugging dress, not dazzling, but breathtaking. Her hair flowed freely, adorned with a white flower picked that morning by her grandmother. Liam wore a crisp white shirt and linen trousers, simple, yet strikingly elegant. He stood beneath an arch made of woven bamboo, where two worlds would officially meet. The guest list was small, only those who truly mattered. The music was a blend of African drums, Latin rhythms, and soft French harmonies. And then, the moment came. They stood facing each other. No officiant, no scripts, just vows. From the heart. Maya placed her hand over Liam's chest, where his heartbeat pulsed. "You are the peace I never dared dream of, the one who sees me, even when I say nothing. If there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. I choose you, today, tomorrow, and every day after that." Liam took her hand, his voice soft but sure. "You're the fire I didn't know I needed, until I couldn't live without it. You didn't heal me, Maya. You taught me how to heal myself. I choose you, not because you're perfect, but because with you, I'm no longer afraid I'm not enough." And then, they kissed. Their kiss wasn't long, nor was it flawless, like in the movies. But it was a kiss that made the whole world still, for it carried everything words could never say. All the times they stayed silent to stay professional, all the times they held back their hearts, all the times logic silenced longing, all dissolved in that one moment. Maya's hands gently held Liam's face, trembling. He wrapped his arms around her waist, as if she might vanish if he let go. The ocean breeze passed through. The flower in her hair trembled slightly, and when their lips met, there was no past, no yesterday, only right now, where two people had chosen each other, no conditions. Applause erupted. But to Liam and Maya, the world had disappeared. There was only them. When the first notes of music played, a soft ballad with a Caribbean soul, Liam reached out. Maya placed her hand in his, as if it had always belonged there. They danced, not for tradition, but because it was how they told each other, we made it. Their movements weren't polished, not even in sync, but they were honest. Maya laughed when Liam missed a step. Liam laughed too, and then, neither could hold back the tears. They held each other tightly as laughter mingled with quiet tears, from friends, from those who had witnessed every part of this stormy journey, and from themselves. Two strangers, once guarded and afraid, now standing at an ending. That was also a beginning. From a distance, Donna Selena watched with folded hands, as if in quiet prayer, and truly no more words were needed. Because that wedding wasn't just the close of a love story, it was the result of courage, of all the times they didn't give up. As the sun sank into the horizon, the sky turned lavender, and the wind grew cooler. They kept dancing, not to celebrate, but to tell each other, with every step, we've come this far, and we're going even further. Life after the wedding wasn't a fairy tale, but for Liam and Maya, it was real, peaceful, and enough. They lived in a small house nestled in the quiet countryside outside Paris, a place with lavender bushes in the backyard, a winding dirt road leading to an old bakery, and church bells echoing softly on Sunday mornings. Maya still worked, consulting for nonprofits and teaching auditing to international students. Liam became a freelance creative director. He turned down executive titles, choosing instead to work from a sunlit home studio where morning light spilled across his quiet designs. But the biggest change wasn't the house. It was the man inside it. Liam, the once called Ice King, now woke early to brew Maya's favorite tea. He learned to cook her favorite meals, even picked up some Portuguese phrases to speak to the baby in her belly. Boy or girl, doesn't matter. Just hope it takes after you, he'd often tease. Each night he sat beside Maya, hand on her stomach, reading bedtime stories aloud. Whether the baby understood didn't matter. The way Liam read, gently, reverently, made every word a vow. Dad will be here. Always. Maya would laugh. Who would have thought the man who once shut out the world would be the best at soothing a pregnant woman? He just shrugged, smiling. You melted the ice. The rest, I chose to change. Sometimes Maya worried about parenting, about the unknown, but Liam didn't flinch. He listened. He didn't try to fix it. He simply held her and whispered, we'll learn together. We don't have to be perfect, just present. They still worked, still had long days, disagreements, even silent dinners. But what mattered was this. They always came back, always chose each other, not because it was easy, but because it was worth it. One rainy afternoon, Maya sat by the window, her belly now round and full. Liam arrived with cocoa and a soft shawl. You cold? No, she said. Just thinking. About what? She turned to him slowly. About us. About how maybe all the pain in the past was needed. To lead me to you. Liam said nothing. He took her hand, then knelt, placing his cheek gently on her stomach, like listening to a melody only he could hear. The golden light of dusk fell through the window, painting the moment so tenderly, time seemed to pause. Maya looked at him, the man who was once alone, distant, unreachable. Now here, gentle, grounded, real. And she knew. He had become a man of love, not because he was flawless, but because he chose to love every single day. Outside, the rain continued, but it no longer felt cold. And when Maya placed her hand on his shoulder and softly said, "I choose you," he looked up, eyes no longer ice, only warmth, and whispered the words that sealed the journey they had walked together. "Love isn't a destination, it's a journey, and I choose to walk it with you, forever." Outside, the rain still fell, but inside, in a house filled with quiet laughter, the Ice King finally melted into a man who had learned how to stay.